Good morning. I'm John Ellsworth, founder of Success Strategies Incorporated and the creator of the Success Strategies Advantage. I want to thank you for listening today. I've entitled this presentation today as What Do We Do Now? What do we do now? Well, last time we talked about paying the price for success and the steps to get there and how we develop objectives to reach our steps rather to reach our ultimate objective. Today I want to talk about the way we introduce in my clientele, among my clientele, how we introduce the discussions at management team meetings and finance team meetings. And that is, I try to ask the question in one way, shape, form, or another. I try to ask the question, what challenges are on the horizon for you right now, this month? What challenges are you facing? I recently met with a client who informed me that they were a little bit behind with their feed company, and they were getting some pressure, which is normal ever since 2009's tremendous, horrendous downturn. Feed companies don't want anybody getting behind with them, and the reason is because some of them took a real hit in 2009 when people literally could not repay their feed bill. So with the thought that they were behind with the feed company, I said, well, what are your options? Well, they obviously had two initial options. They could panic, not necessarily a good one, or they could hide out, but that too is kind of short-lived and doesn't work out real well in the long term. But I felt they had two other options. Number one, they had a low fixed rate on their real estate loan, which had a relatively low loan to value. So I suggested, why don't we put a second note behind that, a second deed of trust if needed, and then make it with a 20-year amortization. So this fixed rate that they had currently matures in about 2 years. I believe it's 2028. So you're going to refinance it anyway. So I thought, why don't we do this temporary second deed of trust, or the second note behind the first deed of trust, and then we roll them together, whether with the current lender, preferably, or with a different lender if need be. But their loan to value was certainly in compliance, and they would still be, it would be a very workable situation. So that's option number one. Number two, we determined that they had probably 10% excess heifers, which could generate $300,000 to $400,000 in cash. But it also had a secondary benefit. They could still maintain their herd numbers with 10% less heifers than they were carrying. And ultimately, they could lower their feed costs by feeding fewer heifers. So there were some real positives all the way around on that option. The keys are this, though. They had a challenge that they were facing. They, first of all, instead of hiding from it, they recognized it, met it head on, and we identified several options for them to follow. Option number one, the one of doing the second loan, second note payable, if you will, behind their first deed of trust. It was possible for several reasons. Number one, they had a low fixed rate already in place, which helped them keep their payments down. They were also paying down principal monthly for a number of years in that fixed rate, and they've had the additional benefit of adding assets out of cash as much as they could, when they could, to this same real estate. And what that did effectively was it made the value of the property go up, so the loan to value was even more attractive. So why was that possible? Option one was possible because they've been doing all the right steps as we went through the process normally. Before this feed company issue even raised itself as an issue. Option number two, that was available to them, selling the excess heifers was available to them because they had an excellent breeding program. So it was a reward for doing a good job on the breeding program and asking the following question. Based on our financial statements and our financial analysis this month, where do we need to make our focus? Where do we need to set our focus? What do we need to hone in on and really zero in on to improve? I would ask you this question. When you face a situation like they did, What's your approach? Because as Winston Churchill so accurately stated, and I quote, there ought to be ways of reforming a business other than merely putting more money into it. End of quote. I want to thank you for listening today. I'm John Ellsworth, founder of Success Strategies Incorporated and the creator of the Success Strategies Advantage. Thank you very much.